Chair now recognizes Representative Roy for 5 minutes to speak on his bill, H.R. 5287.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you and the ranking member for having us here today. It's good to be back in the committee. I miss it. I was silly enough to go over to the Rules Committee and no longer on this committee, but it's a great place, and appreciate the time to be here. I am here to talk about H.R. 5287, what we call the Veterans Access to Direct Primary Care Act. This bill is one of the first bills that I introduced when I was a fresh member of Congress in the 116th Congress. I had heard a lot from veterans in the district I represent, which is Austin, San Antonio. There's a very, very large veteran population, obviously large active duty population because of San Antonio. But as a result, I've got, and one of the first things I did when I was elected was create a Veterans Advisory Committee and take in input from them. And this was one of the first things that they talked about was running into the wall of I mean, bureaucracy is a loaded term. It's be a slight at the VA, but we all recognize the truth and the reality of what a lot of our veterans run into. So they were complaining about that. And at the time, DPC, direct primary care, has been a growing alternative out there in the healthcare world. It's something that I'm championing in the private sector space as well, to be able to give people, because it's gotten kind of like lumped off into this, oh, well, that's concierge and that's for wealthy people. And that's just not true. One of the best DPC clinics I went to was actually in East Austin, where some guys had set up stuff for basically artists and kind of your underserved community in East Austin, particularly in the arts community and music community and so forth, and the success they were having, and be able to let people come for cash pay services and keep prices down that aren't inflated by insurance companies and by government bureaucracy. So the purpose of this bill is to create a 5-year pilot program to the Center for Innovation that was established in the Mission Act. And the purpose is to develop innovative approaches to testing payment and service delivery models. So what we want to do is do that. Direct primary care is now being used by 300,000 Americans in the private sector space, and frankly growing quickly. And so we'd like to be able to have this legislation move to be able to create this model and a pilot for the VA to try to set this up in a model where it'd be a health savings account that veterans would be able to use and go out and find a doctor that isn't operating just under the very complex insurance-constrained healthcare environment. So that's the goal of the bill. That's the goal of the legislation. I can get into greater detail, but y'all can read the bill and look at it, and you're gonna. I'm happy to make myself available anytime, but I think it's an important piece of legislation, and I think, and again, this falls into that thing that I think shouldn't necessarily be partisan. We ought to all want to figure out how to streamline and cut through the bureaucracy of both government and, frankly, increasingly insurance companies. Insurance companies, let's be honest, they're a part of the problem, and we're going to have to figure out how to break that down, and then the VA is a part of that as well. So appreciate the time. Thank you, Madam